Hello again and welcome to the Birmingham News Weekend Magazine and the review of the week. So let's kick off with a look back at some of the things we've been covering here on Birmingham News over the past week. Here's Mike.
A banned driver who caused mayhem on roads in Birmingham and Solihull has been jailed for 2.5 years. Kamar Farouk from Aston travelled at almost 4 times the legal limit, at times on the wrong side of the road, before crashing an £85,000 BMW into a traffic island before careering into a car at a petrol station. He reached speeds of almost 115 miles per hour when the pursuit took place on the 23rd of September last year, when police saw Farouk in Washwood Heath Road. They attempted to pull over the motorist, but he sped away. Farouk attempted to climb into the back seat of the car alongside 2 other men and claimed to have been a passenger. Farouk denied being the driver, but Birmingham Crown Court convicted him of dangerous driving and driving whilst disqualified. He was also given a 10-year driving ban. Some football fans in the Midlands are surprised when away trips to the likes of Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds United roll around. Adult ticket costs in excess of £35 for those games, and with the football market continuing to increase in price, we wanted to know just how expensive is the game for fans in the region. Hayden Atkins crunches the numbers.
Football, one of the most popular games around, but for some, it's simply unaffordable. With ticket prices at an all-time high and some clubs in England charging up to £80 to attend games, for fans in the West Midlands, prices are getting seriously expensive. And in the BBC Price of Football survey, which detailed costs for the 2016-17 season, trips for Blues and Villa fans have spiralled to upwards of £35 for an adult ticket if you want to watch your team at the likes of Leeds, Sheffield Wednesday or Ipswich Town. Blues came out as the cheapest away day in the division though, with adult tickets costing just £15 for certain matches. As you can imagine, the rising cost hasn't gone down too well with supporters in the West Midlands.
Definitely think that football is definitely too expensive for the average football fan. I think that, the masses are the people who, we are people who love football, and and I think that should be considered. That the average working man cannot afford 88 quid, £80 for football. I think there should be kind of a sort of a cap or something like that. I think that should be reviewed.
I'm a Villa fan. First went to Villa Park. It was £1.50 to get in the whole tent. It was affordable for kids, and just not anymore, is it? So it's become very middle class, and the prices reflect that. So yeah, I think it's probably tough for the younger fans getting into these games, and then I guess for clubs building up support bases as well, isn't it? But yeah, 80 quid at Arsenal is just ridiculous. Villa at the moment, I think free, but. No, I would say 20 or 30 quid, but for kids, I think it's the family tickets and the youngsters they need to really bring the prices down for, just to get more people coming to the games, get more people interested in the sport.
Football has become too expensive, certainly outpricing the working man with a family. The cost of prices, you're looking about 100 plus, particularly some of the London clubs. Hopefully the Midland teams will kind of suppress the prices down.
I don't know that football could be free for kids or anything, but because obviously there's only a limited set of seats in the ground, so but they could be much cheaper than they are now.
Whichever way you look at it, football is getting more expensive, and with ticket prices getting more costly for supporters of West Brom in the Premier League and Villa, Wolves and Blues in the Championship, the game certainly needs to be cheapened one way or another. This is Hayden Atkins for Birmingham News.
10 years ago, Oscar-nominated movie Atonement was released, starring Keira Knightley. Atonement was filmed in the West Midlands at a stately home called Stokesay Court near Craven Arms. The owner, Caroline Magnus, is planning to open the doors for a day of pre-booked tours on September the 3rd to help raise money for charity, and that's this coming Sunday. Stokesay Court is one of hundreds, if not thousands, of beautiful homes and buildings around our region. And with this year marking the 70th anniversary of listed buildings, here on Birmingham News we've been taking a look at constructions of special interest from around the West Midlands and the history behind them. Here's a reminder of some of the places we've been to.
Here in the Jewellery Quarter, there are a number of listed buildings with fascinating stories behind them. You may well recognise the Argent Centre, and it's in fact a Grade 2 listed building and was once known as the Albert Works. It consists of long, narrow, multi-storey workshops surrounding an open courtyard, which allowed the natural light to reach the workers. It's home to the Pen Museum, the only museum in the UK devoted to the history of pen making. The history of the Black Country is arguably dominated by the early industrial age, and many of its oldest buildings stem back to this particular period in time. The Greyhound and Punch Bowl pub has been here for hundreds of years, but it started out as Stow Heath Manor House. It's believed that the original footings were dug out in 1450 when Bilston was a country village, and in 1810 Stow Heath Manor became the Ye Old Greyhound.
The Shiloh Apostolic Church, located right here in the heart of West Bromwich on Lodge Road, is just another one of many grade-listed buildings across the region. Now, what actually makes this specific church significant is that it is actually, would you believe, a bit of a tourist attraction. Maybe not to the extent of, say, the Hawthorns or some of the other major landmarks within West Brom, but it is actually well known on a global scale. Now, this actual specific type of church is actually located across the globe. I mean, that's ranging from Sheffield all the way to Port Antonio, Jamaica.
Dudley Castle, Warwick Castle, Shakespeare's birthplace, an old warehouse, an interesting 1930s three-bedroom house, a red telephone box. So many varied and interesting buildings and constructions become listed and are protected from any alterations without the necessary permission. To find out more, we spoke to Chartered Town Planner John Shaw.
Heritage and listed buildings. What's all the fuss? Well, listing a building is the act of identifying the most important parts of our heritage so they can be protected by law. In Birmingham alone, there are 1,946 listed buildings that are celebrated because of their significance in history. With the UK celebrating 70 years of identifying these buildings, we wanted to know more about what makes them so important to our history. We spoke to John Shaw, a chartered town planner, to find out why maintaining these buildings is so important.
Well, they illustrate the growing history of the UK, where we came from and how we got to where we are today. Where we're standing now is a perfect example of Birmingham's place at the heart of the country, the canal system bringing goods and materials and then distributing them through the rest of the country. And it'd be a tragedy if this sort of living example was lost. Listed buildings came about because after the end of the First World War, there were fewer people around to manage country estates, and there's a growing concern about loss of country houses. And of course that accelerated during the next World War with loss of buildings through enemy action. So just after the war, the government brought in enactment to list buildings, put them on a list of those buildings that should be protected for their architectural or historic interest.
In Birmingham, there are listed buildings that include everything from churches, synagogues, town halls, office blocks and even pubs. And John Shaw wants to see more people getting involved in listing buildings to protect our history further.
Now that local communities can have local lists of buildings, and Historic England now encourage people to add to the list by sending them photographs, anecdotes, stories about those buildings, so they come to life more. You've only got to look around to you, and they're an advantage, they're an asset to be protected and cherished, and they can add value to an area, not decrease it. So the listing protects them from unwarranted destruction, but it doesn't mean they have to be wrapped in aspic as a museum piece. They should be living buildings.
So whether you live in Smethwick, Sedgley or even Sutton Coldfield, you might be unaware that a listed building could be just around the corner. But protecting these sites and looking after them is certainly something we should be looking to do more often. This is Hayden Atkins for Birmingham News.
Well, this year once again marks the 70th anniversary of listed buildings, and we've shown a few over the past couple of weeks. We've been taking a look at some of the constructions and buildings of special interest from around the region and the history behind them. All Saints Church in Bloxwich is a Grade 2 locally listed building, and Hayden Atkins went to take a look.
The All Saints Church in Bloxwich is a famous piece of archaeology that was constructed all the way back in 1791. A Grade 2 listed building, it's thought there might have been an earlier church that already existed on the site. As everyone in England knows, Canterbury is the famed spot for all things cathedrals, and this church was in fact once dedicated to St Thomas of Canterbury, but was rededicated after the alterations in 1875. In the churchyard, just south of the south porch, exists a socket stone and shaft, which is medieval in date, being erected in the early 20th century. The cross itself on the structure is a Grade 2 listed building and is also a scheduled ancient monument. Despite being built in the late 1700s, people did in fact worship here from the early 1400s, but now the church is more commonly used for Girl Guiders and Brownie groups. How the times change, eh?
And a reminder that wherever you live in and around the West Midlands, if there's a building that you'd like to see featured on the programme, drop us a line to news@madeinbirmingham.tv.
Right then, time for a short break now, but stay with us as we'll be continuing our review of the week, plus we'll be taking a look at this week's community notice board right after the break. So then it's time for the community notice board. It's the news that you send to us. Now, if there's something we could mention, do get in touch, but give us plenty of notice and we'll give you those all important contact details in a few minutes' time. Now, a big-hearted Hagley woman is running 3 events in 3 months to raise funds for the Mary Stevens Hospice. Sue Williams' fundraising campaign will begin at a charity Skittles night on the 15th of September at the Fountain in Clent. Then in October she'll be hosting an evening with Lord Cobham, giving locals the opportunity to dine with the resident Lord of Hagley Hall and glean a rare insight into his fascinating past, the day-to-day life of a Lord and his ambitions for the future of Hagley Hall. Her efforts will conclude on Thursday the 16th of November with a trip to the iconic Blenheim Palace. Now, Sue's connection and contribution to the hospice dates back to the very early beginnings of Hagley Road Charity, as she was part of the initial fundraising project to get the charity off the ground back in 1991. Now, she's run fundraising events for more than a quarter of a century, and she hopes that her latest efforts can help families relying on the charity she so passionately supports. Now, you can find out more about the events by calling 01562 883 834, and to find out more about the work of the Mary Stevens Hospice itself, you can visit their website, which is www.marystevenshospice.co.uk. Now, Keene, Sandwell, woodworkers and volunteers are shedding light on new community projects thanks to a new home in a shed. The Townhouse Shedders recently welcomed the Mayor of Sandwell to officially open their new base in Hampstead Road, Great Bar, thanks to support from Sandwell Council. Now, the council teamed up with the Royal Voluntary Service and the National UK Sheds Association to set up the Townhouse Shedders at the Townhouse Centre. Now, shed projects are designed and run by their members, and they provide opportunities to take part in practical woodwork skills and activities and share tools and resources. Now, there are more than 200 men's sheds projects nationwide and more than 1,000 worldwide in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Denmark and the Republic of Ireland. You wouldn't think there were so many people in sheds, would you? But anyway, for more information you can email sandwellmensshed@gmail.com or visit the Facebook page facebook.com/sandwellmensshed, or call By Dylan, who's the Community Partnerships Officer, on 0121 569 5177. Now, after breaking numerous records in its debut year, a unique charity fun run is returning to Himley Hall in September. The Neon Night Run saw more than 1,000 local people take over Himley Hall back in September last year, dressed from head to toe in neon clothing for a huge neon party followed by a 5k walk or run. Now, it's organised by the Mary Stevens Hospice, and the event raised roughly £25,000 for the Hagley Road charity, which is the most the charity have ever raised at a single event. Quite impressive, isn't it? Now, the evening will once again be hosted by superstar DJ and Simon Cowell lookalike Andy Monk. I know him. With the pre-walk warm-up being provided by the Clubber-sized team from the Fitness Factory in Stourbridge. Now, the event will take place from 6:30 on the evening of Friday the 22nd of September at Himley Hall, and registrations for the event are open online until Sunday the 17th of September at marystevenshospice.co.uk/event/Neon Night Run 2017. It is on the screen. Or you can call the Hospice fundraising team on 01384 377 778. Next, Wolverhampton Art Gallery bosses are urging Midlands wildlife lovers to make the most of an international photography show on their own doorstep. Oh yes, the National History Museum's 52nd World Wildlife Photographer of the Year exhibition is open at the Lichfield Street Gallery until October the 1st. Now it's the second year that Wolverhampton Art Gallery have hosted the show, which last year won the thumbs up from visitors. Now the Wildlife Photographer of the Year is the most prestigious photography event of its kind, providing a global platform that has showcased the natural world's most astonishing and challenging sights for more than 50 years. If you want a ticket, just look up the Ticket Factory and do a search for Wildlife Photographer. Now, the Don't Go Into the Cellar Theatre Company and the staff and friends at Hayden Hill House Museum in Cradley Heath are inviting people to the 1890s Wittiest Chit Chat Show on Sunday the 17th of September. Oh yes. Now, picture this. Imagine a modern TV chat show. Go back more than 100 years to the Victorian age, and as host, why not the acclaimed wit and playwright of the era, Oscar Wilde? Yep, that's what's being performed here. Yeah, guests will include a selection of some of the celebrities of the late Victorian period. And as with modern chat shows, it'll be packed full of gossip, song and humour, with a few surprises along the way. That's what they promise, yeah. They're not telling us any more than that, but Don't Go Into the Cellar are an acclaimed Midlands-based theatre company formed in 2010, performing macabre theatrical Victorian Gothic. And they've performed at the house on a number of times before. So if you like the sound of that, then you can call 01384 569 444 or go to www.sandwell.gov.uk/joininmuseums. And finally, a quick reminder, as we've had in the news this week, that the next phase of Buzz Lane enforcement cameras are set to go live in Birmingham, with a clear warning to motorists: cross the line, pay the fine. Now, Buzz Lane cameras will be located along the B4128 in Bordesley Green, the A5127 and A38 Lichfield Road and Tyburn Road, and on the A441 Pershall Road. Buzz lanes keep the city moving, giving priority to buzzes so they can avoid traffic congestion. So you have been warned. So there you go, that's what we found pinned to this week's community notice board. And if you know something about something that we can tell people about, why don't you get in touch? But as always, give us at least a couple of weeks notice. You can email news@madeinbirmingham.tv. On social media, look us up at madeinbhamtv or use the hashtag Birmingham News. And we'll have more for you at the same time next week.
Thanks, Lee. This week I went along to Moseley Rugby Club, who play in the National League, which is England Rugby's third tier. After a disappointing 5th place last season, but plenty of changes in the team this summer, they kick off their season opener this weekend. And I spoke to them about the expectations for that game and more. You've been made captain this season. What is it that you're going to be saying to the lads ahead of matches and stuff?
Not too much. I'm not going to be the biggest talker of captain. We've got quite a few senior boys in our squad, so there's boys in certain positions that need to talk more than others, so they'll be leading some of the team talks and telling the boys what to focus on before games. Hopefully I can just go out there and perform and lead on the field.
And what are the expectations for the club this season?
We've set quite high expectations. Last year we finished 5th, but the boys felt as though we could have finished higher. We're aiming for top 3, but we would like to push if we can for promotion, but we know realistically it's going to be a tough year and there's some very good teams who have recruited well as well. So we're just going to play as well as we can, and when the season gets down to the last few, if we're in the mix, that'll be a good season for us.
And talking more about the club itself, new signings and everything, how is everyone gelled together in pre-season? Very
well. There was a big turnaround last year, coaches and players. So everyone had to buy in this year and buy into the new mentality, the new process of how we like to play. And we've tried to keep a good social side, so everyone meets for food and drinks. We've had a few nights out as well for boys to get to know each other, which always helps. So we think everyone's gelled well, and it's a good sized squad, so everyone will be involved, which helps as well.
It's a whole new squad, so everything around here is about being fresh and new, and so we've done a lot of work getting the boys to gel together really, but I've been really pleased with the outcome of that. It's going to be a tough match. I think all of the games in this league are tough. We lost to them home and away last year, so we know we're going to be in for a real battle.
And West Bromwich Albion's ladies football team play in the Northern Division of FA Women's Premier League, and I spoke to them about how they've kicked off the season.
So I joined West Brom Women in June. I moved from Birmingham City Ladies, where I was reserve manager there. I saw this as a great opportunity to be a first team manager. That was a pull for me to move across here. There's been a lot of change over the summer here at the club. A lot of players have left, a lot of new players have come in, all new staff, so it's been a crazy few months. The season has started now. It's been a slow start, but we're slowly building to where we want to be.
And where do you want to be?
We want to be competing. Like, we really want to be one of the main teams in the league. That's a long-term aim. We want, of course, it'll be foolish of anyone to say they don't want to win a title or get promoted. But we're realistic. We know it's going to take a lot of years to do it.
So I first joined when I was 7. It was a grassroots team, West Brom was, so it weren't like a centre of excellence. And I got involved because I was playing with a boys team, and the manager there was like, "Oh, you're too good to just play with the boys now." So I got a trial at West Brom, and that went from there.
What was the pre-season like for you?
It was hard work, I'm not going to lie, like fitness, every training session, but we had to get it done, we had to get fit, didn't we? But I enjoyed it because like we was able to bond as a team, and like the team's so new, and it's just been good, like getting to know new players and playing with new players.
We started to gel as a team with, like, obviously over time. It took time for us to all get used to each other because we're a new side, but pre-season was key for us and it helped us develop a lot as a team, and now hopefully it'll show over the season for us. To be fair, like we're a very, very young side, so people won't be expecting a lot to come from us. But I think with the belief and like the drive that we've got in this side, with the youngsters and that coming through, I think we'll do well this season.
That's all from me with your sport. Back to Lee.
Time for a short break now, but stay with us because there's still plenty more to come from the Birmingham News Review. Welcome back. Now let's continue with the Birmingham News Review of the week.
Parks, fields and open spaces, the ideal place to wind down after a hard day at work. But one space in Shirley could be making way for up to 800 houses in a draft plan that's been issued. There are campaigners who want to keep the space, otherwise known as Allocation 13, free from houses and building. With more on this, here's Hayden Atkins.
We know we need houses, but if you take this, we have no backyard. There is nothing else. That's, it's just so bad, it's terrible.
Standing up for what you believe in, a huge part of everyday life, whatever corner you are fighting. And for a group of campaigners in Shirley, Solihull, petitioning against a local draft plan that has proposed a large housing construction on a treasured piece of open space is of the utmost importance. Sylvia Gardner, a local resident who has put together the campaign, wants the land that she has visited since she was a little girl left alone.
I'm a retired resident of this area and I've walked these fields for 27 years, every day with my dogs. I know the importance of it. This has such a tremendous community spirit, this area, and there are people come even on their mobile cars, things, whatever they're called, and if the council takes this away, all we're left with is Shirley Park. It's appalling. The loss will be tremendous to the community. I cannot express enough how I feel about this.
And Max McLaughlin, a Green Party councillor for Shirley South, gave his thoughts about the plans and how leaving the green space alone would help the population of elderly residents that live locally.
So just behind that hedge there, this is one of the, it's one of the highest average ages in the area. So it's a quarter of the people, single pensioners living alone. A quarter of the people in this area have no access to a vehicle. So in terms of keeping people out of our hospitals, keeping them out of dementia units, and actually having community infrastructure that can support people, this is really vital for that.
Councillor Ian Courts from Solihull Borough Council had this to say in response to the petition. He highlighted the needs for homes in the area, but feels the borough has a plan that can produce these houses in a sustainable manner. He wants to see residents have a say on the decision, with the public examination due in autumn 2018. Jennifer Archer, another local resident, spoke about her thoughts on how the green space could potentially help people with mental health issues in the area.
I think we need to highlight the importance this area of land has on the local community from both a health point of view and also from mental health point of view. It's important that people walk, they exercise, and basically they get out.
Protecting our green spaces is something the people of Shirley seem to care about an awful lot. With more houses coming down on the Solihull side, what green space is there going to be left for the residents here? Only time will tell whether these plans are pushed through, but it's certainly clear that the people of Allocation 13 are going to keep on fighting. This is Hayden Atkins for Birmingham News.
The summer school holidays can be a difficult time for some children. Fit and Fed is a nationwide campaign to improve the lives of disadvantaged children at risk of holiday hunger, isolation and inactivity. One Birmingham-based organisation that's a part of the campaign is FitCap. Dean Prentice of FitCap came in earlier to tell us more.
FitCap is a Birmingham-based organisation who have been developed now for around about 11 years. And we work with a variety of organisations, otherwise known as street games, and other establishments, schools within the local communities to help promote getting the inactive active. It was initially set up by a kind-hearted woman, otherwise known as Alison O'Connell, and she's done many great things, and she's continued to build on a great foundation.
So the idea is to particularly look after children from disadvantaged backgrounds and to make sure that, first of all, that they enjoy their holidays with games and activities, but also that they don't go hungry.
The Fit and Fed project, for example, the idea in and around that is to combat holiday hunger, isolation, and also to promote active play, to get the inactive active. And quite recently people say to me, you know, do children often go without? And I say, yeah, they do. Children who depend on free school meals, families who depend on benefits during the school holidays, they do go without. Isolation, because the families can't necessarily afford to take their children, 3-4 children at a time to organisations, they often miss out.
Is a worst case scenario, say a winter holiday, Christmas, the child's on his or her own in the house, they're isolated, there's no food for whatever reason, the parents or carers are not there.
Yeah.
Is that the child that you really, really want to find and look after?
Of course, and it's working collectively with the families and doing the outreach work. It's working with the children who don't necessarily want to be out there. They want to be in a safe environment, and so for some children it is the house. It's a warm environment. Sometimes I've got the game console, and one of the precious, most rewarding parts of the job is working with the families to say, listen, what do you want to get out of life? Where do you want to be? And quite often people, young children, they want to do something with their life, but they're not too sure how. So
FitCap helping to look after young boys and girls. What age?
Quite recently, we've actually taken some of the 5 and 6-year-olds, and it's an opportunity to knock down some of the ever existing barriers for some of the families that have the older brothers and sisters who can go on the activity breaks. But the 5 and 6-year-olds, they're welcome. They can do the arts and crafts, they can do some painting, they can do some dance, they can take music and enjoy it, as well as their parents and guardians being there, because it's one thing working with the children, but it's really essential that we work with the parents and educate them in the right way. I'm learning a lot by some of the parents because they're sharing their recipes within the community, great community cohesion, and it's sharing knowledge. And quite often it's the children that are actually making me think and to how to expand and make some of the sessions even more fun, and what will they change.
20 years on from the tragic death of Princess Diana, a new generation of the royal family are doing their bit when they make official visits around the country. Former Lord Lieutenant of the West Midlands, Paul Sabapati, remembers one day when he was looking after Diana's son, Prince William, and the Duchess of Cambridge.
There was one occasion with Prince William and Kate. They had come to Birmingham because of the riots we had, and Jahan's son had been killed, and Kate and William wanted to come and meet these families and empathise with them. I think one of the things is so important is empathy. So I was with, in all of this as Lord Lieutenant, you're in the background, you're not the show, you're there just the facilitator. So you're in the background making sure everything's working and everything's working properly. And I was with his William's private secretary, and with me was Councillor Anita Ward, the Lord Mayor of Birmingham, and her son had served in the same regiment as Prince William, and he'd been injured in Afghanistan. So I said to Anita, I will tell Prince William about your son. No, don't, you know. She didn't want to make a fuss. So anyway, being me, I mentioned it to his personal secretary. His personal secretary went and told Prince William. And Prince William said he would like 15 minutes on his own with Anita to ask about her son. Now that is what I think makes it special.
Just tell us about your honours.
Well, the one on the right is the blue one, is the CBE, and that was given to me in 2004 for my services to higher education and business as Chairman and Pro-Chancellor of Birmingham City University and Deputy Chairman of the Committee of University Chairman. The middle one is the Commander of the Order of St. John. We work very closely with the armed forces and with all charities, really. And so we're very involved with the St. John's Ambulance. And the last one is the Queen's Jubilee Medal. So all Lord Lieutenants who were serving Her Majesty during a Jubilee year is one. And shortly, I'm going to the Palace on the 17th of October to get the Commander of the Victorian Order, which is Her Majesty's personal gift for my services as Lord Lieutenant, so I'll have another one here. You know, this country is just amazing. I've lived here 53 years. I can't think of a better place. And the people in the West Midlands are super. I couldn't have achieved any of these things without their help. I've worked hard, but, you know, this place is wonderful, and I don't think we appreciate what we have, and the royal family, I think, is at the centre of it.
An arsonist who started a major fire at Digbeth Wholesale Market has been jailed for 5 years following a West Midlands police investigation. Stephen Wilkinson was found guilty of arson with intent to endanger life. He was captured on CCTV, entering and then leaving the area where the fire started. The blaze took place in August 2015 and involved around 40 firefighters. Fixtures and fittings in the market were damaged and stock in an adjoining unit was destroyed. 60-year-old Wilkinson of Mickleton Close in Redditch had worked at the market for a number of decades. He was convicted following a trial at Birmingham Crown Court.
Right then, time for a short break now, but stay with us as we'll be continuing our review of the week after the break. Welcome back. Now let's continue with the Birmingham News Review of the Week.
This week, people around the world will be remembering the events of 20 years ago when Diana, Princess of Wales, was tragically killed in Paris. The Princess was no stranger to this area, and she's still fondly remembered by all of the places she visited in Birmingham, Coventry, Walsall, Wolverhampton, Brierley Hill, and many more. One such visit was to the Mary Stevens Hospice in Stourbridge, and they're releasing a video showing images of the Princess opening the hospice on the 5th of March 1992. Let's take a look back to that special day.
The support of the Princess all those years ago is something we will always wear as a badge of honour. Starting out as a charity created to help people in their hour of greatest need, she helped provide us with the best possible start in life and laid the foundation for us to support tens of thousands of people with the care they deserve when they need it the most. Our thoughts will always remain with her family, friends, loved ones, and all those whose lives she touched, and who faced such impossibly difficult circumstances in having to come to terms with her untimely passing. The Princess holds a special place in the hearts of this hospice.
Around the world, there are millions of people who are looking back to this week in 1997 and remembering what they were doing when the tragic news came in from Paris of the death of Princess Diana. The week that followed saw an unprecedented outpouring of emotions, and those of us who walked down the Mall or stood outside Kensington Palace will never forget the mountains of flowers and messages to the princess. There was high activity in newsrooms around the world, and here two well-known local journalists remember that historic time.
I will never forget the day that Diana, Princess of Wales, died, because it was one of those days where the red button is pressed by the newspaper editor and you are told a big story is developing, get into the office straight away. And this is one of those days where the journalists really, they don't think about what they're doing, they want to be involved in a big breaking story. So it didn't matter if you were a sports writer, a news editor, a sub-editor, a business writer, a feature writer. By the time you got into the office that day, you were just an operative. And I always think that it's fantastic the way the local media spring into action and just come together. We had people that were just turning up at the office, having heard the story, not been asked to come in, and before you know it, we've got a full-blown Sunday shift in operation, trying to get to the bottom of the story and produce a breakfast special for that next day. And of course, here in the West Midlands, we found that we had a local story on our fingertips, because Trevor Rhys-Jones, the bodyguard who was in the car with Diana, Princess of Wales, was from Oswestry in Shropshire. So of course, then we've got a big hook to hang it on. And we produced a fantastic breakfast special the next morning, which competed with anything that the Nationals had got to offer.
It was a strange atmosphere. It was there was the necessary speed, the professionalism of making sure we got the maximum amount of information about her, what had happened, about her life, into that day's paper. But there was very strange subdued air, because this was it came so much out of the blue. A lot of people, I think, have had problems because of that, because her dying in such a random road accident, which is the last thing you expect for somebody as glamorous as that. And we were processing that like everybody else. But I think even we were taken back by the public reaction, which we found ourselves covering, the huge outpouring of almost public grief, which was something that took us back. But again, it was part of the story that we found ourselves covering and to some extent being a part of.
Simon Penfold from the Express and Star in Wolverhampton. Dogs, otherwise known as man's best friend. And for the staff at Rosedene Rescue Centre, there's been cause for upset this week after a dog wasn't returned after a routine walk. But on Wednesday morning, volunteers were joyfully reunited with Molly after a caller gave details of her whereabouts. With more on this heartwarming reunion, here's Hayden Atkins.
Hello. Molly! It's Molly. Oh, it is. Oh my God. Is it?
The heartwarming moment, a dog was reunited with her best friends. Molly the dog was allegedly taken without consent from Rosedene Rescue Centre in Walsall on Sunday afternoon after a woman took her for a trial walk. A common occurrence, walks like these often take place to see how the dog gels with its prospective owners. But as the hours ticked by, staff at the centre quickly knew that something wasn't right and Molly wasn't coming home. But after a huge social media campaign and a tip-off, she was found in Great Barr. And Rachel Ilsley, a volunteer at the centre, spoke exclusively to Birmingham News moments after she had Molly back in her arms. So for the second time today we spoke. Here she is, she's back. How are you feeling?
We're so happy. We're so happy and relieved.
Just can't believe we've got her back.
Yeah.
Wonders of Facebook. So we feel now that it's been all over media everywhere. They've got frightened, so they've had to get rid of the dog, basically. Maybe that's, the end of it. They think that's the end of it.
Despite efforts from the centre to track her down, volunteers at the Rosedene Rescue Centre had no luck in finding her, despite their Facebook post being shared over 19,000 times. But after a man called the centre on Wednesday morning, the race was on to get to Molly as quickly as possible. She was found at an address after a stranger attempted to sell her. She ended up giving Molly to the man, who called Rosedene for free. Once again, Rachel and Carol Harris, another volunteer at the centre, told the public just how much it means to them to have Molly back safely.
just a massive thank you, because without Facebook and media, Twitter, everything, we wouldn't have done this.
No.
We wouldn't have done it on our own.
We wouldn't
There's
have got
just
her back.
no chance. I mean, literally, I live 5 minutes from here, and I wouldn't have thought she was around here. We thought more Walsall way, didn't we?
Yes,
West
yeah.
Bromwich.
Yes.
It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. We'll
So,
find her a home.
We'll get her
definitely.
spayed as well.
Yeah, we'll
Definitely.
get her done, and just find her a nice home, family
a
home, because
lovely
that's what she
home.
needs.
She deserves it.
She's been passed from pillar to post the last couple of days by the looks of it. Yeah, but she seems quite happy. She's not panting or anything. She seems
No.
quite happy. Well, we're going to get in touch with the police. We've just spoke about this, haven't we? We'll get in touch
yeah.
with the police, because we have got addresses and stuff, workplaces. So hopefully, they'll do their bit now and try and find her.
Yeah, she needs to be caught. Can't do this.
One happy pup who was glad to be home. This is Hayden Atkins for Birmingham News.
The medical condition sepsis causes 44,000 fatalities a year in the UK, and the Birmingham-based Sepsis Trust believes that 14,000 lives could be saved every year. Dr. Ron Daniels is the chief executive of the Trust, and earlier he told me about sepsis and the Trust's work.
Sepsis is the way the body responds to an infection. So it's always triggered by an infection, pneumonia, a water infection, or something as simple as a cut or a bite. But in sepsis, the body's immune system goes into overdrive, and if we don't stop it, that starts to cause damage to our organs, and that's why it's life-threatening.
And what are the symptoms?
So the symptoms in adults can be described using the word sepsis. So we all know what having an infection feels like. You feel lousy, you take yourself to bed. But if something feels very much worse than normal, you need to look for the symptoms. And if you have any one of these 6 symptoms, you need to get yourself straight to A&E or call 999. S for slurred speech or confusion. E for extreme pain in the muscles or joints. P for passing no urine, no water in a day. The second S for severe breathlessness. I for it feels like you're going to die, and people do describe that. And the final S for skin that's mottled or discoloured or pale. We all know about that rash and the glass test.
I was going to say, I've seen that on the internet. Yes, these quite alarming pictures.
Absolutely, and of course people live in fear of that rash. But skin that's mottled or marbled or purplish is just as worrying as that rash.
So go and see your GP and start the process. If you have a severe one of those 6 symptoms, go to A&E.
Absolutely.
Now, some groundbreaking work was done here in the West Midlands in Sutton Coldfield. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Back in 2006, myself and my small team of really quite junior health professionals developed this concept called the Sepsis 6, which is a treatment package of care. And we showed with our research that this halved your risk of dying if you develop sepsis. And because of its simplicity, because of the fact that junior doctors, junior nurses can deliver this rapidly, and paramedics are beginning to do it as well, it's spread like wildfire. So this package of care we developed in Sutton Coldfield is now in 30 countries around the world and is known of by the World Health Organization and global leaders around the world.
That's excellent. So Sutton Coldfield has played a real part. We're very pleased about that.
Absolutely.
And tell us about the charity, the Sepsis Trust. Now, I know all charities like to look for funds, but in fact, you're looking as well for communication.
We know that people frequently delay in presenting to healthcare. And furthermore, health professionals are looking for a myriad different conditions and they might not think sepsis. So we've got to educate the health professionals, but we've also got to encourage the public to ask, could this be sepsis?
And that's about all we've got time for this week. Don't forget though, we're here with the Weekend Magazine and Review of the Week every Saturday and Sunday at 6 p.m, plus Monday mornings at 7. Then we've got the latest Birmingham news weeknights at 6. So from me, for now, ta-ra bit.